thank you all for coming to today's small business webinar series for the Montana Small Business Development Center program. I'm Jennifer Stevens. I'm the Regional Director at the Missoula SBDC. We've also got Rich Gannon here on the call, who is one of our organizers from the Great Falls SBDC office, and Carrie Hayes, who is with MSU, and she and her colleague Joel Schumacher help run the technology for these events. And then we've got Steve Dogiakos here as our today's presenter for he's the owner of Dee Designs, and he's going to be presenting on an automations case study for the Montana Dinosaur Center in Bynum. So I'm really interested in hearing about this because, I recommend automation especially to my small and micro business clients at SBDC, but it can also be really helpful for enterprise level organizations. So it'll be really interesting to hear what kinds of things you've seen in practice, Steve. Just a shout out to our webinar series sponsors. We've got the Montana SBDC, the Montana Department of Commerce, the Montana or the National Small Business Administration, also MSU and Montana Economic Developers Association. So thanks to all those partners. And we also have additional support from Great Falls Economic Development Office and the University of Montana that are the host organizations for Great Falls SBDC and Missoula SBDC. So thanks to all those sponsors for helping make this possible. And I think we'll get rolling here. I'll turn it over to you, Steve. I'll be watching the chat for questions. So
perfect.
Steve already mentioned he's happy for you to just jump in with questions as things roll along, but I will also be watching the chat if you'd prefer to submit something that way. So great. Thank you for being here with us today, Steve.
Thanks for having me. Is my audio okay? You can hear me clearly?
Yes. And for anyone that's on, in the last couple of minutes, I did want to repeat that this webinar is recorded. We will be posting it to our online classroom platform after the event today. So you can re-watch it if you would like to, but just be aware that it is recorded. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. I hope this is a useful presentation for everyone, a useful webinar. As you kind of alluded to, there's a kind of broad spectrum of automation that you can apply within your business. I'm going to touch on some, I would call low level. It's definitely not enterprise grade, but can be applied at the enterprise level. Stuff that I've done at the Montana Dinosaur Center. The Montana Dinosaur Center is a 501c3 nonprofit in Bynum, Montana. We offer exciting fossil dig expeditions every summer, and we have a wonderful gallery that you come and visit and check out all of our dinosaur fossils and exhibits. A little bit about me: I'm an automation and e-commerce consultant. I'm also a rural digital marketing manager. I manage over 50 Facebook pages and 15 Instagrams. I've sold via WooCommerce, which is a WordPress e-commerce platform, on Amazon and other e-commerce platforms like eBay, Mercari, and so on. I also consult on about a dozen MailChimp email marketing newsletter platform accounts, and I've done a few $1,000s in Facebook ads and Google ads, and I also consult with nonprofits to help them access free tools via TechSoup and Google Workspace for nonprofits. So I'm going to touch on, like I said, kind of the stuff that really helped optimize the Dinosaur Center in the last few years and helped us launch from about at best, about $57,000 in dig sales to into the six-figure range, about 250% increase in our dig sales over our best year in the previous kind of 23 or 24 years before that. So a little bit about how it used to be. I apologize, my slides got a little out of order here, but that's okay. I can jump right into this. A little bit how it used to be. It used to be when you booked a dig, you would go and find our flyers or find our website, and you had to kind of directly go to that website. It wasn't really optimized for search engine optimization. And you would call and say, hey, I want to book a dig. Do you have any space available X day throughout the summer? And it had to be 4 weeks out, and we put a 10% deposit down to save your space. Then a few weeks before the dig, we had to we had to consult with you and find out what kind of sandwich you want, confirm that you're coming, and all these different things. When any of the booking happened, it was a physical paper calendar that someone had to go and write a note on and annotate who was going to be there, had they paid, what type of stuff they wanted, any special details. There was only one computer that could access our email account for booking digs, and so that was upstairs, and so you had to run upstairs with the phone in your hand to check the email and double check information, run back downstairs to grab the calendar and update it, and it took a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of friction between the customer paying for what they wanted and us getting them out into the field. And so I really took a hard look at that. One of the first things I did was sign them up for the Google Workspace for nonprofits. It's a free program that Google offers through TechSoup, and I highly recommend, if you're a 501c3, getting them on board with this. It made it so that first and foremost, our email was accessible from any device anywhere that could access IMAP settings, which is just letting you use your account like you would expect to, instead of being tied to one specific computer. It allowed us to have collaboration on our documentation, whether it was presentations, emails. Our calendars was a huge thing. We were able to really see scheduling a lot better. And we were also able to decrease friction between us and the customer by having template responses for, at the very beginning, what sandwich you want, that kind of thing. It was just an automatic thing that we saved a lot of time. Our executive director and the assistant executive director at the time were spending hours and hours a week coordinating meals of all things for these programs that were $150, $200 programs. And we were just hung up on spending time on scheduling these meals and figuring out who's needed what. Another thing that Corey implemented, and I helped him set up, we set up Google Fi for our phone system. We still have a landline that's then forwarded to Google Fi so that we can answer it from anywhere. In the wintertime, October till about April, the Dinosaur Center is quiet. We close down for the winter, like a lot of organizations in Montana do, and we don't have a lot of folks in the museum. It's expensive to heat. It's a big building. And so by moving us from being locked into a landline and moving on to Google Fi or a cell phone, that anyone can access, that made it so that we reduced staff time. It made it so that we reduced our heating costs by not having to keep the museum at high temperatures or higher temperatures. We were able to keep it a little cooler. And it's helpful in the field too, so that, because it's an MVNO, we're able to get the best rate for the best provider. I think we're on Verizon. And so we're able to use it kind of anywhere in Montana, which is great. Another thing that I worked on was getting the website changed over it was on Wix, and we changed over to WordPress. And it's really focused on search engine optimization. I've been really targeting Montana dinosaur digs as our keyword. When people look up Montana dinosaur, we're like top of the list for search engine. It's taken a few years to get there, but it was really important to me that we get towards the top. When people search for Montana dinosaur digs, when they search for Montana dinosaurs, we're at the top there. I know Rich is a Wix guy, and I give him a hard time about it, but we use WordPress, and it's been able to integrate with all the different services that I need to make everything kind of coordinate and work together.
Steve,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, should your slides be changing?
They should be.
I just see the one that says automation at the Montana Dinosaur Center.
Well, all right, let's see. Do you see something different now?
I do, yes. Thank
Okay.
you. Website upgrade. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's fun and exciting. So at any rate, WordPress is our platform. It integrates with several different plugins. It's really built on search engine optimization and XML, which is kind of a data format and APIs that work across different softwares. On top of our website, we use Fair Harbor. This is kind of niche to tourism and tour-based companies, but it's revolutionized our business. It integrates right on our website. It sits kind of on top of our website. People don't leave our website. They go to tmdinosaurcenter.org. You can click book a dig and you can book your dig right then and there. You don't change websites. You don't go off to another site. You don't go to the Fair Harbor site. You live right on our site. They're they are great to work with. Their staff helped us set up and configure everything we needed. You don't need to have a tech person involved. I was involved, so that was great. And it's very secure. They use bank level encryption to make sure that everything's safe and secure for our customers. Let's see, a few of the things that really decrease the amount of time we spent on our digs and working within the dig programs as a revenue stream. It allowed us to manage booking dates on the fly. There was no more paper calendar involved where you had to X out a date and double check it before you book someone. As a matter of fact, we took ourselves out of the equation almost completely by using Fair Harbor. Instead of the phone calls and the emails and everything else, Fair Harbor automates all of that for us. The customers can book their own digs. We set the dates that were available. They pick which one they want, and they pay right then and there. It's a matter of cash flow. Using Fair Harbor, we took 100% payment upfront. It was no more 10% deposit, hoping they showed up in a few months. It was 100% cash upfront. We've already booked, I think, about 24 digs for 2023 in the last 2 months, which is just, it's awesome for cash flow purposes. Let's see. They manage emails, texting, and customer notes. So if we need to update a customer on saying, hey, our vendor for sandwiches can no longer offer peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You chose peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. What do you want instead? It's all through the system. All the notes are logged. Everything is tracked. So it's a little bit of a CRM that way. It integrates frequently asked questions. So we've eliminated a lot of the questions of people calling and saying, hey, I'm coming in 2 weeks. I'm just going to send my 16-year-old on their own. Can they do that? No, it's in the documentation now. You must be, all people under 18 must be accompanied by an adult. We've reduced a lot of friction for that kind of stuff and a lot of staff time and staff money on answering those types of questions. We're able to pull reports for use with other platforms like Facebook ads. We can target our customers or people who are like our customers and including like what value they provide to our organization. So if they went and spent, they brought 20 people out with them and spent $8,000, we can say, hey, this is a high value person, find us more people like that, which is awesome. And they have an API, which is wonderful. It integrates with Zapier and automatically integrates with MailChimp and Discord. So I'm able to pull in these names of these people who are our customers and put them on our email list. I'm able to put them into our donation tracker for our CRM. And it's exportable to Google Calendar. So we don't need to use just the app to show our interns, our summer staff, our temporary intern staff, what's coming up for the next week. They can look on Google Calendar and have it right then and there. Let's see. Another thing they do is they pass on their fees to our customers, so it isn't coming straight out of our pocket. It's a little bit higher for our customers, but we have had almost no pushback about that whatsoever, and it's wonderful. I highly recommend them. If you're a tour company or do any type of tours, I strongly, strongly recommend you check out Fair Harbor. They're wonderful to work with. Another set of things that I've helped implement is Little Green Light and RaiseUp. RaiseUp in particular is very similar to Fair Harbor. It's a donation platform, a donor platform that lives on top of the website. So people click on it. It has data about, based on the IP address of the consumer, kind of what they should recommend as the best pricing model for that individual person. So if you're in a more affluent zip code or from a more affluent IP address, they're going to recommend higher tiers of donations presented on the screen. Again, has an API. We're able to directly integrate across with Little Green Light, with MailChimp, with all these different services that we can really give tailored experiences to our customers, to our consumers, to our donors. And it's made it really easy for us. Little Green Light, we used to use QuickBooks Point of Sale as our primary kind of CRM, just tracking who donated, when they donated, if they were members, if they weren't, all of that. Little Green Light has just really helped us get more detail, more attention. It's really focused on the person rather than the transaction itself. and it's been wonderful. Let's see. So Square, I'm sure most of you heard of Square. It's a point of sale system. It's the little card reader that you can swipe on the top of your phone. We have a full system. Again, we used to have QuickBooks point of sale, a whole computer that lived in front of our retail area, our gift shop, and was kind of in the middle of everything. We've reduced this down to an iPad and a card reader. But it also has the back-end interface. It's awesome that way that we can access the data of inventory, sales, number of customers coming in for we use it to track our visitors for the museum. And so we're able to pull that data up instantly. We can export the data and use it in a variety of different ways. Whereas before we were stuck with one single computer that you had to go and pull it up on this single computer. Someone had to be present in front of it to get the information. It has also allowed us to dabble in e-commerce. Square does have a platform for online sales, which I recommend if you're just trying to check it out and see if it works for you. They handle 90% of the work on tracking inventory and getting stuff shipped out. It's awesome. And it helped us sell, Corey will have to double check me on the numbers, but I think we sold about $5,000 in December of 2020. Just testing our waters and seeing if that would be a good platform for us, a good means of sales for us. It also does customer satisfaction and customer management, so we can respond to reviews. They ask how the transaction went and that kind of thing, and let us integrate through Facebook Messenger and MailChimp to coordinate discussions with our customers. Olive, I think your hand's up. Is that accurate?
Yes. I have a question. My business is a little bit different where
Mhm.
I also have a WordPress site running WooCommerce, and I'm using Square for payments as well as PayPal.
Mhm.
It's integrated into my website. I use QuickBooks as well for invoicing. I have wholesale accounts and retail accounts. And so my question is, have you done away with QuickBooks completely for your business or for that business, or are you just using the reports that are in Square to, how are you working the two things?
No, that's a great question. So we were originally, up until this year, using QuickBooks Desktop. So we had QuickBooks Point of Sale for our point of sale, which was just one single computer. We also had QuickBooks Desktop to manage the finances of the overall organization. So grant management and payroll and other things. We dropped QuickBooks Point of Sale and have kept QuickBooks, but have moved to QuickBooks Online. The way you alluded to that we manage it by using the reports and the deposits on the credit card side, and then the cash outs in inputting that data into QuickBooks Online is how we're doing it. We haven't eliminated QuickBooks altogether though.
I see.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a really good question though. We tried integrating Square directly into QuickBooks Online, and that got very messy very quickly. There was a lot of individual transactions and stuff that was overwhelming. We just needed the reports data, and we'll pull the demographic data out of Square to get the kind of granular stuff without having it in QuickBooks Online. That make sense?
Yeah, I've avoided going to QuickBooks Online. I've been using a QuickBooks desktop version. But I just wondered how, this was all going to be integrated.
Yeah, so like I say, we pull the repair. Same with RaiseUp. We get the deposits from RaiseUp as donations or whatever other places we get the income, the revenue, or the outgo for that matter, and pull the report data into QuickBooks instead of granular data. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. So Square, we had the customer stats. Yeah. So that's actually the biggest other thing is the MailChimp. We were doing paper newsletters. I had a note here on this that I wanted to touch on. We were used to do paper newsletters for our consumers, for our customers, and it took a lot of effort on the part of our staff, coordinating, making sure we had up-to-date physical addresses and designing and all of that. Took a lot of time, put a lot of stress. We've switched to MailChimp as our primary communications tool for kind of our blasts. We keep it tailored. I'm very familiar with MailChimp's I can't remember their merge tags, and so I'm able to keep stuff very tailored to what our customers, who they are, and information about them. And that saved us a ton of time and saved a lot of stress for our staff in a big way. So like I said, in the last couple of years since I came on in 2020 as a board member, our best year over the last the previous 23, 24 years was about 55,000 in sales. In the last 2 years, we've done upwards of 6 figures, low 6 figures, but upwards of 6 figures. And that it equates to something like 200 and some odd % increase in our sales. So it's helped a lot. It saved us a lot of time. We've been able to focus on stuff that's kind of been, we just haven't had time to address. Working on our collections, spending money, putting people in our collections to work on that instead of managing the gift shop, managing all the website stuff, managing all of the donor information. All of that has just made it a lot easier. Were there any other questions, Jennifer?
I've got a couple questions,
Oh,
Steve.
yeah, let's shoot.
So you're primarily using MailChimp for email marketing. It's like, is Square able to integrate into MailChimp? Can you grab email addresses out of Square and drop them into?
Yeah, absolutely. Square provides an API and a really smooth, it's actually the other way. MailChimp integrates directly to Square. And so you can pull that data in. It'll pull in sales data as well. So MailChimp can capture how much people are spending, and you can target them based on how much they spent in store or how many times they visited. We can track that data.
I know Square has its own email marketing component too, but I don't know if you preferred using MailChimp over Square.
I like it when people do reviews. So like that Square sends them a quick, like, hey, on your receipt, did you have a good time? Did you have a bad time? Did you, they give you the option of, was it clean? Was it, whatever. And so whenever we have people review like that, I respond that way. But for broader stroke communication, I prefer MailChimp.
And then my next question too, since you're always on top of all this stuff, have you started looking into text message marketing and then also geo-enabled marketing, be it either, I don't even know, just because Bynum is such a small town, you've got one artery going through it. People may not even know you're there. Is there a way you're able to target through cell phone data? Have you looked into that? And then also the text message marketing stuff too. So
text message marketing, a little bit. I've found that our consumers are very free and willing to give us an email address over cell phone data or phone number. We do have capabilities to communicate on a transactional basis through Fair Harbor over text message if they enable that, but we haven't specifically targeted SMS marketing on our end. As far as geo-targeting, so it's tough because our consumers tend to be people who are planning trips and not just stopping in to book a trip, and we really can't facilitate just people who drop into our digs. I've taken our lead time from like 4 weeks down to, if we're really on top of things, about 3 days to be able to make sure we have proper staffing and everything. What I do on the front end is I target Facebook ads and Google ads to people who are located in metro areas or marketing areas that have direct flights to Great Falls, and people who are planning trips. If we have the money in our marketing budget for it, I also target people who are in West Glacier, East Glacier, and the Yellowstone entrances to, put ads in front of them for stopping in at the museum. But in terms of our dig ads, trying to get dig purchases, I really focus on the marketing areas for direct flights to Great Falls.
Okay, cool.
Olive, did I see you raise your hand again? Do you have a second question?
Yes, I have another question. Could you please describe your email, your approach to marketing via email? How often do you send out emails? What kind of automations do you have for following up with your campaigns? And Yeah, I have a lot of questions about MailChimp, but maybe
Sure.
we could.
So for MailChimp for us right now, we're underutilizing it is the short answer. Olive is it's my preferred communication. So I try not to bother people a lot is the real answer from our end, just because we don't have the capacity to do a lot of follow-up. And so we do primarily right now, we've got a Patreon, which is kind of a pseudo membership thing that we're doing. And we've got about a couple dozen folks who subscribe to our Patreon newsletter. And that's a monthly newsletter that we just give them a little background. It's kind of behind the scenes look at what's going on at the Dinosaur Center. And then the other primary stuff that we do is end of year fundraising. And again, we're nonprofit, so it's a little different for for-profit marketing and for-profit organizations. But end of year fundraising, Giving Tuesday. So just this past week, we've done a big hit on some targeted stuff on people who are out on digs, people who are in the museum, and then end of year we'll kind of hit our whole list with broader strokes with some targeted tag-based merge tag stuff in MailChimp for end of year. In the springtime, we run a couple small. We try not to discount our dig prices too much because we provide a good quality product and we don't want to dilute that. And so we push promos and get in front of people in about March. So that's when we see people starting to book our digs, March, and then again in early to mid-May is when we target people for dig information. As far as follow-up and targeting, like I say, because it's solo, I'm a volunteer within the organization, and Corey, our executive director, is stretched very thin across everything that he does. He works like 50 hours a week, and we don't pay him nearly enough for that. We just have not done broader strokes than those few emails that we send out. If I had my druthers and were able to send more, it would be way more nuanced, and I can't hypothesize, but it would be a lot more nuanced than what we're currently doing.
Okay, so you're not inundating people with emails.
No, and that's something that I'd really worry about is the noise to signal ratio. Is I don't want to over inundate. I want people to self-select if they don't want to be our customers. So if they unsubscribe, this is something that I've come to grips with. If they want to unsubscribe, that means it's one less person that I'm bothering, which is great. But the people that I do send messages to and that are on our list, I value them a lot. And so I try to be very particular in what I send them.
It's much harder to get people to sign up for emails. And my one-liner, if I'm at an event, is, would you like to sign up for my extremely occasional email list?
There you go.
Not to bother you, but I'm only doing about 4 emails a year, and I don't think it's enough.
For what type of retail space are you in?
I make jewelry. I make jewelry at home, and I sell wholesale and retail. I have a little production facility here.
If you're looking for an example of a really good quality email marketer, look up Alaska Salt Company. Her name is Brittany, Britnii, but it's Alaska Salt Company. She's an excellent email marketer. I highly recommend. She uses MailChimp. I know that for a fact, but she does a really good job at very casual, but poignant sales marketing within her email newsletter. And it's casual. She seems to make it very low stress. It's enjoyable to read her emails, and I highly recommend them.
That was Alaska
Salt, SALT, like table salt. Yeah. She harvests ocean salt in Alaska and sells it retail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Steve, I had a question. You mentioned Google Workspace at the beginning of the presentation and using it for nonprofits. But is that also available for for-profit businesses?
Absolutely.
What is the cost?
So depending on what package you're in, it's anywhere from $10 to $20 a month per user. I highly recommend. I use it for Dogiakos.com, my personal website. I have Steve at Dogiakos as my Steve at Dogiakos.com is my primary email, and it's such a useful tool to have. It's not only is it good branding, but I do the $10 a month within my business, and it can seem daunting if you're bootstrapping a new business, but the amount of tools that you get access to is way more valuable than the $10 that you're paying.
Thank you. I was also wondering, as you were going along there, you mentioned the tool Zapier. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question, a good topic to talk about in the context of this. So Zapier, Zapier.com is a tool that basically takes APIs from two different platforms or multiple different platforms and lets them talk to each other. APIs are meant to be able to talk to each other, but you need programming understanding to really be able to work them. Zapier and Integromat and Make.com are platforms that take the programming out of it and make it consumer friendly. And so if you want to, for example, with RaiseUp, whenever we get a new donation from RaiseUp, Zapier takes that data from RaiseUp and sends it over to MailChimp for me. It also then sends it to Little Green Light, so it's in our CRM, our customer relation, our constituent relationship manager. Let's see, when we have new Dig programs, same deal. It takes the Dig programs. If they've checked the box to subscribe to our newsletter, it filters them out and puts them on our email newsletter list. And it takes a lot of work where I'd be copying and pasting or moving people over. And last summer we had, I think, almost 700 people come out on our digs. It had been a lot of time for me or someone else to take that data and synthesize it the way we want it across platforms. There's a free tier on there. It's a little restrictive. I have the base tier, $29 a month, and I use it across several different entities and projects and stuff that I'm involved in. So it's wonderful.
What were the other similar products you mentioned? Integromat and then
Integromat is the same as Make.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're a direct competitor with Zapier. They used to be called Integromat, and now it's Make.com. There's also number 8n.io, which is a self-hosted platform, which is very similar. It's low cost, but it again requires a little bit more. You have to set it up yourself and do a little programming and have a little better understanding of technology than the other two.
Great. Oh, I had one other question, if you don't mind. I was
Not at
listening
all.
to what you were saying about converting the website from Wix to WordPress, and then talking about the Fair Harbor integration. Was that part of the motivation for converting the site? Does Fair Harbor only work with WordPress?
So Fair Harbor does work with Wix. It does work with Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, several others. It's a JavaScript based platform, and that's how they kind of live on top of your website versus sending you off somewhere else as just a direct link to their page. It can work with Wix. It works better on something like Drupal or WordPress, which is structured a little bit differently. Wix has a little bit more tighter control. Same with Squarespace, a little tighter control on what they allow, in terms of JavaScripting and that kind of stuff. Whereas WordPress, self-hosted WordPress in particular, really lets you kind of do whatever you want. It's yours to customize.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, how much
Yeah.
time have you spent creating all these integrations?
So this is Corey
all
Coverdell.
together?
He is our executive director at the Montana Dinosaur Center. Thanks for the question, Corey. In terms of numbers, I'm a little bit of a jiggler. I like to really get things granular and correct the way I like them. In terms of setting everything up, a couple hundred hours. The amount of time I spend kind of tweaking and fixing and just getting things quite the right way I like them. Probably another 500 hours on top of that over the last few years. I enjoy it. I like setting up new computers. I like setting up new websites. I like configuring things till they're just so. But with a few hundred hours, you could get this set up and kind of really systemized in a way that makes it's the sharpening of the axe. Spending time sharpening the axe will make cutting down the tree a lot easier.
And it also saves a ton of time. Like for every hour you put in, it saved us probably 20 or 30 hours.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, I was wondering, so thinking about small business listeners and the clients that we work with at SBDC, they might hear a couple hundred hours and think, oh, that's a lot of time.
Sure.
So as a small business owner, do you have sort of a short list of how you would prioritize rolling out automations so that they're, maximizing their time, tackling the most important?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big fan of 2-second lean, and the name of the author of that is escaping me at the moment. He owns FastCap, and the way he has always addressed it is look at optimizing, commoditizing, and then creating processes for your revenue streams. And that's where I really focused on taking time and reducing friction out of our revenue stream. So the dig programs was my top priority. Allowing us to bring in more revenue and decrease the amount of work to bring in that revenue was the top priority. And I would recommend that for any small business. It sounds really simple to say that, but that's how you can really get maximize automations in your business, is making sure that whatever you're doing, if you can repeat it, or you have to repeat it every time you take in $1, find a way to make it a written down process, and then find a way to turn that into something that can be done by a computer, because 99% of the time it can be.
Thank you.
Paul Akers.
Paul Akers, thank you. Paul Akers, 2-second lean, AKERS. And the ebook for 2-second lean is available free on his website. Go ahead, Olive.
I have another question. Where do you find people that are able to help with WordPress and doing some of these automations? How do I find people like that, like you?
Well, you're in a good place. You've met me. So if you look on Facebook, has several groups. If you look up Zapier or Integromat as Facebook groups, there are people out there who really build their whole business around consulting on creating and integrating and implementing automations through those platforms, if that's something you're interested. Same with WordPress. There are people whose careers are built on working within WordPress as, a developer, or creating plugins or custom solutions for that if you need something custom, or at the very least can point you in the direction of the right solutions for you, your specific problem. That's where I would start. I've found a lot of camaraderie in those Facebook groups, and a lot of advice and stuff for me who is a developer. And I know a lot of people come in there asking for help. So that's where I would start.
Thank you.
You bet.
Olive, I did also hear you mention that you're using desktop QuickBooks. I think that there is some sunsetting on that desktop version coming up in 2023. So I just wanted to mention that if it wasn't on your short list, and happy to chat with you about that outside of this webinar, if that would be helpful.
Thank
Corey's
you.
about to laugh off mic, but they are pushing everyone towards subscription model for all of their platforms, which is my least favorite thing in the world. But that's they're going towards more subscription-based models. Yeah.
Well, there's some pros and cons to that for me. Of course, I've used QuickBooks for many years in other business settings, so I'm familiar with it, and I have an old version of the but when I am at a trade show, for example, and I'm writing orders for my business, the convenience of the online version is that I would be able to enter my orders right there at the show and kind of get a jump start on that.
Absolutely.
We spent a lot of time looking at a lot of other options too before we kind of settled into the things we've done, and you might want to just keep looking, because QuickBooks Online is frankly, it's kind of expensive.
And that's even with the nonprofit discount, it's still
Right.
fairly expensive comparatively.
But there are a lot
depending
of
on your size, Olive, and how many transactions you're doing. I use a Wave accounting for a lot of business stuff that I do. It's owned by Intuit now, which same with MailChimp. They used to be independent, both of them, but they're now owned by Intuit. But Wave accounting is free and does all the integrations and stuff. It's not as robust as QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online, but it does have a lot of the core features that most small businesses need.
Okay, thanks. I'll look into Wave. I think I've looked at them years and years ago, but you know,
Absolutely.
I'm doing invoicing and I'm sending out statements and,
Yep.
and all of that. I wish there was a way to track my inventory, but because I make things, the inventory is pretty much set up for the components that you buy to make the product, not
Sure.
for the product itself. But so I pretty much don't use their inventory feature.
For sure. Are there any other questions, Jennifer?
I'm not seeing any. Such a great brain dump of information. I've heard so many different software names and the things that work between software. A little bit jealous that MailChimp integrates with so many things. SBDC works with Constant Contact.
Constant Contact works with quite a few, depending on who you're, you know, some they need a little bit more programming than MailChimp does, but they integrate with quite a bit too.
So yeah, really helpful information. And any other comments out there? Questions?
I was just going to say, Steve, you can send me your slide deck, and I will send it out to the people who registered through the SBDC side.
Will do.
If anybody else who's on this call that was not registered through the SBDC wants to get a hold of Jennifer or Joel or anybody at MSU, we can provide your slide deck.
For sure.
And I think we'll also put the slide deck as a download on the MSU page as well.
Awesome. And if you want to get a hold of me, my website is dogiakos.com. I've got on screen a QR code to book a dig for the Dinosaur Center. If you've never been on a dinosaur fossil expedition, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. tmdinosaurcenter.org. And if you're looking for a tax write-off for the end of the year, we also accept donations on our website too.
Rich, okay for you if I put your email address in the chat here?
Yeah, you bet.
If anyone wants to get a hold of you.
Yep.
And we will, like I mentioned, we'll also be posting this information online in our online classroom for SBDC. So thanks so much for attending. We're getting set up for our next round of webinars for 2023, and we meet every month on the first Thursday at 11 a.m. Rich, do we have our first January one locked in? We did get that confirmed.
Yep, it'll be Marguerite from the Missoula Women's Business Center. She's going to be doing a presentation on nimble inventory management, which is pretty timely right now because a lot of people are having issues with supply chain and inventory management, and she's going to come up with some tools that people can use, some frameworks they can use in their business to better manage their inventory.
And I've talked to Marguerite about that topic a little bit in the past. She's really savvy, so I think that'll be a really good one. All of it might be interesting for you with your comments just now about using inventory tracking. So hope to see you all in the new year, and we will be having an announcement about our other webinar topics coming out here probably early 2023. So thank you so much to Steve and Carrie and Rich and all of the attendees for being here today. Really appreciate your participation and hope you're walking away with some specific tool information that you can use to improve your business.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.